You're going to sit right there. Great. Wonderful. That's a good spot. Okay. This is Ella, everyone. My name is Amber, and I feel a little odd behind this podium here, but it's actually it sounds all right. Thank you all for inviting me here today. I was here in January with my organization, Spirited Justice, and we were talking about abolition. And I'm back here today to support as we are just a few days past Mr. Bruce Poinset's passing. We're also here, in addition to that, to watch a screening of Black Girl in Suburbia. So we're going to hold space for the expansion of both things. Although I'd like us to start by really holding space for the Poinsett family. And before I invite Bruce up, I'd like to say that I have always appreciated just this youthful excitement around learning, which was something that I always felt when I was in Mr. Poinset's presence. He always would impart wisdom, a little bit of history, a lot of education, and with this really this level of curiosity and excitement that was really present on his face and his energy and the way that he moved when he spoke. And the last time I was here with him, I remember him sharing quite a bit about his experience in Lake Oswego and his experience building community. And I think it's so beautiful to see so many people show up in that same spirit, and that was something that was my last experience with him, just even in this very room. And it seems like he has just ushered that energy in here today. So thank you all for coming. Whether you came knowing that was part of this experience as well, or if you came to watch this amazing film that Melissa has curated, thank you all for being here. And we do have the Poinsett family here, so I'm going to invite Bruce up to talk a little bit about his dad.
Good evening, everyone. Those who don't know, I'm Bruce Poinsett. Normally I'm up here as executive director of the organization, but I get to be in the crowd with you all. But I did want to just say, before we get into the presentation tonight, just say a few words about my father, beloved member of the RtR community. If you've been to an event like Amber kind of talked about, he's probably chatted you up a little bit. He has all the stories, he has all the experiences from his time in South Carolina, down to Eugene, down to ask him anything about the city of Portland. Usually a complaint, but I do mean city government, I should say, just to clarify. But, yeah, and he was very big. Again, if you talk to him, he'd tell you one of the real, core issues that we deal with is not learning real history, not having access or making choices not to teach real history. And it's something he always emphasized. He was also, he was, like I said, he was a talker. He was also he was so supportive. Yesterday was Mother's Day, and I always think about just, how much he was here, even if he was never in a, official name, title role. He was always here. He was always supporting, always, with someone as big of a personality as my father, it could be really hard to be on the side or in the background, but he was always willing to do whatever it was. And I'm not gonna get into all the details, but he went in for, was supposed to be a minor heart procedure on April 17th, and that thing that every family's afraid of when your loved one goes in and they don't come home. And that happened. He passed away last Wednesday evening. And again, I'll spare you the details, but he suffered. He suffered a lot. I wouldn't wish what happened to my father on anyone. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I'm glad that now he can rest. He was always working. He was always, his service spanned so far, whether it was Rotary, whether it was Ainsworth UCC, whether it was the Development Review Board here in Lake Oswego. He was prolific. And people have been asking how they can support what we need, when's the service. So we're still working on details. Tentatively, I shouldn't say tentatively, we just don't have the times yet, but we're going to be having a viewing at Rose City Funeral Home next Wednesday. As soon as we finalize the times for that, we'll send that out on our email. We'll let everyone know. Still, there's going to be a celebration of life in June. And these things do cost, I will say. So if people have been asking how they can support, we're looking for help with some of these funeral costs. So I'll be here after the presentation if you want to figure out how to do that. But it's my father, Bruce Renard Poinsett, 1946 to 2024. Amber, thank you so much for holding space for this. And thank you all.
Maybe we can just continue just another quick moment. This is a beautiful picture. For those of you who are leaving afterwards and aren't able to stay, there will be information on the website about how we can continue to support the family. And otherwise, they're just asking that we respect just a little bit of privacy right now as they're finalizing arrangements. And continuing in the spirit of education and support, we will be announcing the winners of this at a celebration in a couple weeks at Lake Ridge and Lake Oswego for the Gloria Brown Scholarship. And then, as we move through spring into the summer, RtR will be a handful of spaces that you can come and visit them when they're vending. One is the AANHPI Heritage Month celebration, May 19th. So please feel free to come through, say hi to them. They'll have a booth, as well as at the Lake Oswego Pride, Sunday, June 2nd. And then Juneteenth, which will be taking place June 16th. So these are all spaces that you can come to support celebrations that are taking place in this city, in addition to support the work that RtR is doing as well. And then the theory of change is finally on the website. So if you haven't gone to RtR's website, make sure to go there, check it out, learn about the work that's happening, what has taken place, and what they're moving towards in the future. There's also the newest Life After the Bubble, which has been uploaded on YouTube. So if you haven't been watching those, please go back, see what those look like. They're full of just lots of wisdom and lived experience from the city. And this newest one was just uploaded a few days ago. And here's how you can support the work. Just a moment. Sign up for their email list. You can donate. All right. So we are going to enjoy a viewing of Melissa's work, and I want to share a little bit about her. And before that, just say that I have had the pleasure of a few times working in proximity with Melissa, and what I really, really appreciate about her is just how hands-on she is. She's an incredibly wise and thoughtful and creative educator, and like very heady, although has this beautiful grassroots way of engaging with community, where it doesn't feel like you're in spaces that are so elite that you can't access them. Although she's like definitely from that space, in in the fullness and expansiveness that she reaches. She really is, and so. I've appreciated being able to be in community with somebody who is so dedicated to making sure that youth's voices are centered, that Black community is supported with resources, and really that all people have access and support to getting their needs met, and all with this educational spirit. So that's been my experience. Although Melissa Lowery is also a wife and a mother, her children are here today. She lives in the Pacific Northwest and is an equity and liberation strategist and director and producer of the documentary film Black Girl in Suburbia. She always seeks to create better and equitable environments that honor the human dignity of each person through storytelling and dialogue. And Melissa currently works at Central Catholic High School in Portland as the Director of Equity and Community Engagement. Please help me welcome her to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see your faces. Thank you, Amber, for that. I sent her a little check earlier. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I also want to extend my deepest thanks to Bruce and his mother, Willie, and thank you so much for having me this evening. I know these are really difficult times, so I'm really honored that you both are here tonight, so thank you. Melissa Lowery, I am the director of Black Girl in Suburbia that you all will be seeing shortly. I am really excited because this is actually the 10-year anniversary of Black Girl in Suburbia. So I'm super, thank you. And the reason that we are still celebrating this film is because it is still very relevant. And we are going to be, hopefully you all will stay. Back 10 years ago, when I made the film, I went basically for about 2 years on a screening tour around the city, the state, and the country. I think I've done about 200 screenings over that time period, and the film still continues to be viewed and shared and sparking dialogue 10 years later. We have a neighbor who texted me and was so excited. She's a student they're a student at PSU. One of her assignments in her community bridges classes was Black Girl in Suburbia, to watch Black Girl in Suburbia, and then do a project based off of that. So the film is still, again, still doing what it was intended to do, which is spark learning and conversation. Really, that was the main thing. So for me, you'll hear in the film, I grew up in Westland, Oregon, as one of very few kids of color, Black children specifically. And when my oldest daughter, Jayla, was maybe 8 or so, something like that, we had a conversation about her hair and about how one of her friends said that she was different. Her hair was making her different. And it just brought back all of these emotions and experiences that I feel like I just suppressed and just, as soon as I graduated, that was it. That part of me was done and over with. But our conversation just really, and I was shocked at how much was coming up for me. And I had just learned how to make a film and tell a story. So this is kind of just a little bit of context of Black Girl in Suburbia. And we'll get into all of the details of what that experience is. Universally, the story is just about identity and understanding yourself and our community as a whole. So hopefully you all will stay to the end. These screenings, the conversations at the end are my favorite part. I learned something new myself. And there's always, it can get kind of lively, which is always really fun. So really, I hope that you all stay. So without further ado, we will, okay, in 1 minute, we will have another. Has anybody seen Black Girl in Suburbia? Who's seen it? Well, y'all were in it. Okay, wait, can I see the hands again? Who's seen it? Okay, when did you guys see it? Lake Ridge, yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot I screened out Lake Ridge. That's right. Okay, 2016-ish maybe? Okay. How about you?
Shortly after it came out at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church in South.
Oh, I forgot I did it over there too. Okay, where else? I saw a couple of hands in the back. Oh, hi, Bruce. Yes.
Also in Lake Ridge?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, anybody else? Well, I'm excited for you returners to watch the film again. I think every time I watch the film, even though I made it, I still see new things. So hopefully you guys will see some new stories and some new things too. Okay, yes. Oh, did you have a question, Calvin? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, any other context questions before we get started? I'm just really excited for all of the newbies. I, for some reason, was expecting many of you to have already seen it, so I'm actually really excited for new folks to see it, and especially because it's been 10 years. My goal is to have a big 10-year celebratory event, so when that happens, I'll let everybody know, bring a friend, come out to that. And then I'd like for 24, 25 for that year to just do a round of screenings again, just take it on tour again like I did before. So, okay, how we doing? Okay, so my format of this is really informal. It's not fancy at all. You don't have to raise your hand. You just kind of go respectfully, fill it out and then go for it. Initially, just popcorn. What sparked in you in seeing the film? Just one word. What's one word that you're like, this is what comes to mind. So just go, just shout it out. What's one word?
Can it be a phrase?
Sure. Too black to be white, too white to be black? Okay, I'm gonna come back to you. Okay, what else? Just go, shout it out, one word. Relevant? Thank you. Still relevant. Hard. Crucial? Crucial. Power of story, I love that. Okay, I'm coming over here to you. Crucial. Why do you say crucial? Can everybody hear in the back?
It's important to society as a whole to understand the concept.
Okay, what else? I see lots of thought bubbles above your heads, so I know you're thinking. Yeah? Oh. Oh. Power buttons.
Power of the buttons.
The power of the buttons. Okay.
I see a red light. Oh, hey. Okay.
Hey.
All right.
Look.
I will run. I will
Okay.
run where you want me to go.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep, okay,
Say this, but my initial. I don't think I'm on. But I'm on. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
My initial thing was whiteness.
Yeah.
Whiteness was my first thought bubble without thinking.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I don't want to say that, but yeah,
Why
I want to
not?
say that. I want to say that.
You said it.
I want to say that.
You said
I
it. Say it
do.
again.
Whiteness.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
It's the trouble of whiteness.
Uh-huh. A lot of it. And that phrase, I don't feel like 10 years ago was a thing. So as you
Yeah.
all noticed, there's some outdated language that we were sharing, and because that was 10 years ago when people were not having these conversations. So this film, I had high hopes for it. Like I said, my real intention was just to make this film and then pass it on to them. Because I didn't want them to be alone and by themselves in this experience. But I also wanted it to create dialogue. That's it. Just because I know the power of a conversation, and that one conversation can change a life. So that was my second really intention with this film, was to get people just talking. You don't have to agree. You don't have to fully understand it. But if you're talking about it, that's a start. Yeah.
I mean, the relevance part is so important, and I was thinking, I kept nudging my friend over here, we got to get this to our superintendent, we got to
Get it to your superintendent. Yep.
needs to see this film so bad.
All right, well, get my number after this. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, good evening. I have a lot of thought bubbles. I'm going to say sad, and I'm going to say shame. It's interesting. So my family and I, this was my daughter, the first one that spoke. My family and I moved here from California about 8 years ago. And when we live in Westland now. And when we were moving to Westland, my biggest no for Westland was the lack of diversity. And seeing my younger children's school on that screen, it just, there's validation. There's sad validation with the concerns that I had coming to Westland, and knowing that that's what people were living through and are still living through. And it's just, it makes me sad. And I'm glad to be here and hear this, but I want this to be shown at Cedar Oak Park. I want this shown at Westland High School, and to bring more just awareness and color and diversity and culture. And it just feels far away, which sucks. So I don't know, lots of thought bubbles.
Yeah, I mean, I was in high school. I lived in Westland in the 80s and 90s. So that's what, years, a long time ago. And then, yeah, just a little bit. And then made this film 10 years ago, so 2014. And those young women were mirroring my exact experience and my daughter's. And then now in 2024, and how old are you, sweetie? 14, right? So I think there's been movement. I've seen it where I'm at my school right now. There's been some movement, when we talk about language and awareness and access to information that we all have, and especially our kids have, which I feel can be a tool used for good for them to have the language that I didn't have, growing up. So it's been baby steps. So there's been some progress, but then at the center and the core that these experiences are still happening. Yeah. So how do we fix that in the next hour? That's the goal, people. That's the goal. Yep.
We need to start it in elementary school. Start that conversation. We're starting it little by little, but it needs to happen. And I know a lot of teachers are scared, you know, and uncomfortable. Well, how do you think I feel? You know? Because me and my friend over here is only 2 in the whole school, you know,
What, are you in Westland or Lake Oswego?
Lake Oswego.
Okay.
So, talking about uncomfortable, you know, so we need to have those hard conversations. And yeah, it's going to be hard. And I tell the teachers, you know, if you have questions, come talk to me. You know, I'm an open book. You know, I'd rather you come talk to me than shh. No. Yeah. Never assume, because you don't know. So, yeah.
Do they come talk to you?
Some of them have. Some of them have. Some of
Yeah.
them is just, I can see them walking around with a little
Thought bubble.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to start that in kindergarten, you know, and up, because it has to happen. The bubble has to be busted. So.
I agree. And what I hear often is, but they're so young and they won't understand. And, you know, well, you see, my children, Shay was, how old were you, Shay? Shay was maybe 6, I think, at the time. The difference with us being Black is that regardless of whatever I was at home and the support they were getting at home, they had to walk out into society and be, you know, to see how other people saw them just based off of, you know, what they look like. And then learning that way from 5 years old, right? But that scene, that braiding scene, which is always, I love that just because, one, they needed their hair braided at the time, and I needed to film something. So I thought, well, I'm not kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We get their hair braided, have a whole conversation. And it really, at that time, you know, because those of you that know, braiding hair takes quite a few hours. So we got a lot of time. And I had not had this conversation with them yet. And so I thought, let me take this time to have this conversation. What has been your experiences? Because they saw it. Jayla talked about her hair, you know? And so I was like, tell me, what else? Tell me more. And I remember telling them the story about being in 3rd grade and the water fountain where the little boy was afraid to take a drink because he thought his skin was going to turn the same color. And I remember asking Jayla, oh, I'm so mad I didn't put it in the movie. But I told her the story, and I'm like, can you believe that? She's, I can't believe that. Like, and you know, like, so what if his skin changed color? Like, who cares? And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's an 8-year-old right there talking about, like, who cares? I was like, right, who cares? I was like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Like, come back. But again, that's a young person, a baby, basically, right? Who has the capability and is getting some guidance and navigation, and we weren't getting super deep about stuff. It was just, what have you seen and observed? 5-year-olds, they see and stuff. They might not have the verbiage or the language, but they know, you know, and it's just little conversations, right? Of just awareness, of being aware of their surroundings. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Melissa, I just also want to add on as I'm coming over here that when I do restorative justice work, I often talk about in schools how we start in kindergarten teaching these lessons because the N-word comes out of kindergarten the most. And that's because the children aren't as, oh, you got it, they're not filtering. And so I just want to say that there's also a lot of research around having conversations with young people so that, yeah, they're more aware.
Hello, Melissa. Hey, everyone. I saw your movie when I came to Oregon. Please, I cannot say it the way that, because people get offended if I say Oregon, whatever.
Oregon?
Yes, yes, that word. Some people are so protective that they, and so I won't even try. I came here in 2016. And so that was, I had a son who was in the high school, and I had 2 daughters in the school that you just filmed. And so I did see that movie then in 2016. And so speaking of when conversation should start, we saw it in the high school at Wesleyan. And then I made the suggestion that, wow, could we even show it to younger children? And there was a conversation in the school that said, we need to figure out how to have this conversation with our younger kids. In the meantime, I'm like, no, these kids are drawing swastikas on people's cars. Why are we having to sugarcoat this conversation with kids? Because they do ask our children for the N-word pass. Like, can I have the N-word pass? Am I allowed to say the N-word? And the kids, young, especially African kids who don't have the history with the N-word, they will give out the N-word pass. And then the kids would say, oh yeah, I can say the N-word now because I was given the N-word pass by, you know, so-and-so whose parents are, you know, don't have, you know, like, I love the poem that said, you know, sometimes I've had the problem with people that look like me, because we don't understand that historical significance of the term, and we really need, as African people in the diaspora, to have an understanding with that word. So I appreciate the conversation, and I just wanted to affirm that when you're talking about the timeline of when I came into contact with it, with your film, with your work, and I moved here from New York to Wesleyan in, as I said, in 2016, but I came from Zimbabwe to the States in 1997. And so what I've noticed as someone who came from outside the US, who was attracted by the glitz and glamour of the US, I was really, really shocked to see the inequality and the hurt and the pain that is hidden from public view. When we are abroad, we don't see these things. And when we get here, we go, what? So I'm saying this to say, one, I'm really grateful for people that take the time out of their day to come and have this conversation. I would like to encourage folks to not have shame, to not have guilt. We are not responsible for our history, right? But we are responsible for what we do with it today. So pat yourself on the back to say, I went to watch a movie today, a documentary, and if that is all you did, that's amazing. So
and then go
please,
home and have conversations.
yes, absolutely. Once you step in here, you can't not be impacted by it. So I'm really grateful for people that come out and engage with the conversation. It is still relevant. My kids are now in the high school. They're 17 and 15. The conversation about hair, I want to affirm you. I said, God, you have a sense of humor, because he gave me 2 daughters. And I told them, I said, I am not going to do your hair anymore. I'm going to have somebody do your hair. And it was $150. And I said, okay, no, I guess I'm stuck doing your hair. So, I mean, I don't know, I just said a lot, but it is a very emotional conversation. And I've noticed one thing that is problematic about this conversation is that the US in general have not done a good job of having a conversation on race. Ever since, you know, the emancipation, the proclamation, it was like, yeah, you're free, go ahead, figure it out. And so now our children are having a difficult time understanding why there's inequality. Why can't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Why are you talking about racism? And people from the African diaspora come into the United States and do well and live in Suburbia, and they say, what do you mean racism? I'm here, I'm a professor, I'm here, I'm this, I'm that. What do you mean? Because they've not lived it. So I think we have a lot of work to do. And even in the school, someone was talking about this. I had a meeting with a teacher who said, we need to be protected from the school district perspective, right? So the teachers want to have the conversation, but sometimes they don't feel backed by the district. That if the parent comes and yells at the teacher because the teacher gave this conversation that made their kid uncomfortable, they would like the principals and the superintendent and the school board and all of those to back the teachers up. So a teacher might want to do this, but they're like, I still have bills to pay. I want to have this conversation, but I'm afraid for my job. So this conversation has got so many different layers, but I'm excited and happy to be able to have that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. yeah, I mean, you touched on a whole lot of really good points. But yeah, honestly, if you showed up, it is a Monday night, y'all. Like really, like thank you. Like give it up for yourselves, because this Monday, I know we struggle on a Monday. If you're educators, you're at the end of the year, so I know you probably won't remember being here because you're so stressed out. I know I am. But it takes effort, and this is what I tell folks. If you're a co-liberator, I don't really use the term ally anymore. I like ally, it's cool, but like we need a little more than that, right? Regardless of who you are. And honestly, this conversation, racism, white supremacy affects everybody. White people, but everybody. It shows up in different ways, but it trickles down and it affects everybody. All of these systems affect everybody in some way, shape, or form, right? So that means we all have to be part of this conversation. So thank you so much for your comments. I thought I saw another, was there another hand up somewhere in this area? Oh.
I think to piggyback, thank you so much for your comments. My word was impact, and I think the impact for our Black students in Lake Oswego, I think a lot of, my daughter-in-law is Black and graduated from LO High in 2017 and will not come back to Lake Oswego, as many Black students who graduate from LO district won't come back. That impact, and I think that a lot of us move here for the schools. I moved here for the schools. My daughter-in-law's family moved here for the schools. And what you have to give up to be here for the schools, the impact of what you have to give up to be here for the schools cannot even begin to be underestimated. And so that's where I feel like, my friend here who's saying, we've got to start this in kindergarten, we've got to start it now. Yeah. It's been going on, 10 years. My daughter-in-law in 2017, 14, it's still going on. So that impact of families making the choice to come to, the best districts, Westland, Lake Oswego, suburban districts, and then the impact of what that means for the kids who are living it day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because trying to do this work in schools right now, like in some states is against the law. I could be in jail right now in my role, right? So it's even more important when you're in places that are allowing you to even just do a little bit. Because my thing is there's always a way to do something. You gotta use strategery. I know that's not a real word, but you gotta get creative, right? Like you gotta start. My sister who's in Philly, her son's in a new private school, and just even celebrating Black History Month to put a poster up, right, was a fight. And had required lots of meetings, and they're like, we just want to celebrate Black history, and it's not that serious, but they had to go through loops. The parents had to get together, and I said, find the people that are about the same focus of what you want to do, get those parents together, then you go get the couple teachers that are down to do the work as well, and then you got to find a couple white folks that got some influence, because at some point you're gonna need them to show up. She just pointed to her friend. And then you gather and you strategize. You get together and you use strategery to move the needle a little bit, right? And even if it's just a little bit, it makes a big difference in those students that are going to be coming up after your kids. But there's always a way. And I know I'm at a place now that is really, I'm working in my dream place. This community from the leadership down, I've seen it in action where president, principal are all on board. What are we doing? Let's roll. Let's get it. And I have not experienced that before, especially in this work. So I've seen it work and happen. But if you don't have that, right, that leadership from the top down, it makes it even harder to, again, as you were saying, am I going to get fired today because I just said the word whiteness in my class? And it made some of my white students uncomfortable, and now they're crying. But then my kids of color are sitting there looking at them like, what are you crying for? Right? It's becoming a whole thing. And then there's more meetings, and then you get called in. So it's so stressful. But again, you got to find your people, right? That's wherever I go, my first thing is, who's my people? Who's in this? We're we just have to look at each other like, ooh, yeah, you about strategery too. You got to get your network together, and then y'all just got to strategize and try to tackle every little thing. that you can get done, right? Whether it's a poster or it's creating an affinity group or a Juneteenth event, whatever the case is, and you have to, I always, especially with institutions, I always go back to what's your mission, because that's what I use against the school or the school district. I go look at the mission, I go look at what are you all about, and I say, this is what you said you're about, and we're trying to help you out with these things, so let's negotiate on where we're gonna find some common ground. So just kind of, keep that kind of in your mind when you're going back to your communities and find your people and organize and just old school it, right? Sorry, I'm gonna go right back here too. Hi.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I just have a question for white people.
Can you hold that just a second?
You need the mic for this one.
Yeah,
Hold
you're
on.
gonna need the mic.
Wait a second. We got 2 mics coming your way.
So I grew up in Lake Oswego, and I left 12 years ago after I graduated from Lake Ridge because, obviously I'm not black, but I had my own experiences being Asian presenting. White people, and I say this because obviously we are very upfront with this, most white people don't have to deal with needing to have the conversation because usually y'all are privileged enough to never have to deal with it. So my question is how are y'all having the conversations? Because you kind of have to initiate it, right? I left because I went through my series of honestly hating on white people because y'all didn't do anything for us. But I understand that we are all going through a system and we're all learning and we're all on our own timeline. So that's the question that I have is what conversations are y'all having within your home? Because usually it is white people around white people around white people around white people who aren't suffering that dynamic of racism, even though of course it does affect all of us systemically. So I don't know if anyone has anything to share in response to that question,
Would
but I
any
am
white people
very
like to
curious.
answer that question? Oh, yes. Oh, we got lots. Oh, Mom, you're not white. Not you, Mom.
I know. But if it's okay, I just want to tell a quick story.
Okay.
I was invited to Harvard as a fellow, and when I went there, it was going to be a heavy year for me. So the first week I was there, I sent out an email and I said, I'm here as a fellow of this new program. I will not be telling my story about being black this year. I need to hear your stories. One response came, and it was from this young man, and he said, my grandmother used to always remind us that we were crackers. He said, our ancestors during slavery were the foremen who rode the horses through the fields and cracked the whips on people's blacks, okay? And he went on to say, you really can't go to sleep at night peacefully when you have beat someone all day long, day in and day out. He went on to say that in his family, they have a history of schizophrenia, okay? When families is going to have a baby, they start watching that baby right away. The drugs, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and so on. So I share this story to say we all have a story. We have to start being able to tell our stories, no matter what's in them. I have a story that took me 3 years of therapy to work through to be able to tell my story. Melissa, the girls, we all have to tell our story. I don't care what color you are, what culture you come from. We all, as a human being, have a story, but we have to own it. If you have to get into therapy to work through it or whatever, be able to, then we can have those conversations at the dinner table amongst ourselves and with others. We can do it, but it starts with us as a human being, being able to be ourselves. But you've got to work through American stuff. We have an opportunity to change this. We don't have layers and thousands of years of tradition to work through before we can change anything. So we experiment. You see, we have a chance to develop a model for what it means to be human to share with the rest of the world. But we have to start. Okay.
Thank you, Mom. That's my mom, Susan.
All right, I'm scanning the room for white people right now.
Really quick, as you're finding white folks, just going off of, there's a woman, her name is Dr. Joy DeGruy, and she has written about post-traumatic slavery syndrome and generational trauma for Black folks. White people have generational trauma as well, right? That is linked to kind of what my mom was talking about, linked to these systems of white supremacy. So, as she said, that's good advice. Find yourself a therapist if you don't have one, even if you don't think you need one, because you do have something to talk about. You just don't know it yet. Okay. Oh.
Okay. Hi, I'm white. And my name's Lisa, too. But I appreciate your question. And I don't live in Lake Oswego. I live in Portland. But in 2016, a friend of mine who's also white and myself just realized we had a lot of work to do, and we wanted to do it in community. And so we started a white learning group that met monthly. And we don't currently still meet with that group, but I still have, currently I have one, but sometimes I have two different groups. But really the focus of those is around learning and accountability and community. So how do we, because I think one of the challenges that white people have is we get like excited about the work and really passionate, and then it fizzles because our privilege, we lean back on our privilege and we don't have to continue being in that discomfort, you know? So a lot of the work that we've been trying to do is how do we stay engaged in the work over time instead of just having these moments of passion, but then not actually fully committing. And I believe that happens in community. I don't think we can do it in isolation. And to challenge the whiteness of individualism, how do we do it together, you know? So that's something just that I've been working on in communities and my spheres of influence. And so I've asked all my friends and different family members to join the group so that also we have that shared language and understanding and can figure out like, okay, how do we work through this together? Because I think we can't wait for people of color to give us feedback or tell us
that part.
And tell us when we're you know, off or whatever it is. We have to do it with each other. And so, but we can't, I don't believe we can do that unless we're connected. And so that's my approach and belief around it, is we got to do it together and collectively. But it's been really powerful. So I just say that, you know, to the white people in the space, I encourage you all to you know, lean on other white people to engage in the learning so we're not putting our BIPOC colleagues, friends, community, you know, putting that burden on them.
Can you provide like an example, I guess, of like something that came out of your community circles?
Sorry, I'm so bad at thinking on the spot. No, it's okay.
Think about it. Yeah. Oh, okay, we got somebody back here. Oh, go ahead.
You said that we don't rely on people who are already put upon to help us solve what we're supposed to figure out that we're doing, you know. That is learning right there. Because I think so many people think they have to go to the Black person or the Asian person and say, you know, what about this? Oh, did I do something wrong? No, we have to learn and speak with each other to understand that. Like, so I don't think I actually knew that. So I just think, Lisa, I think what you explained, that you're coming together to figure things out without going to the people who are already harmed and making them tell you what they're harming, you know what I mean? I think that's a lot of work, in a way. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in real quick. I'm not white. But at work, we have, I oversee a lot of our affinity programming, so like our BSUs and LSUs and our Women's Coalition, and we have a Parent Equity Coalition group, and we have a faculty co-liberator affinity group. So we have a white faculty co-liberator group, and we have a BIPOC faculty co-liberator group. The white faculty co-liberator group, they talk a lot. The BIPOC faculty affinity group, we talk and just kind of shoot the shit and, talk about what supports we need and, all of that kind of stuff. The white faculty co-liberator group, we just combined efforts because right now what I'm trying to get our school community to focus on and do more learning in is white supremacy and white supremacy culture, which, it's like, I started singing white supremacy because I felt like it would calm people a little bit. So we had to have some really intense conversations for our white faculty co-liberator group because my idea was to have a panel of us for one of our PDs that we did with all of our faculty, and to have our white faculty talk about how does white supremacy affect me as a white male, as a white woman, as a black woman, as black male, and so on. And actually lead by example and model what that looks like, and also sitting in discomfort. And I think it's important, and we've gone into classrooms and talking to kids. We do a lot of class agreements at our school, and one of them is to sit in discomfort and to also understand anxiety, fear, discomfort does not equal unsafe. It does not equal danger, and making that very clear, right? Because you can get hyped and you can be like, right, I gotta go, I gotta run away, I gotta do the things. And it's like, you're just uncomfortable, it's not killed anybody, you're okay. So just being really clear about those things. What came out of this panel from our white faculty group was having other white faculty, and especially white men, because that is the population that we always have a hard time gathering in space, was that it turned into, well, we have to talk about this with our students. And I'm like, yes, you're right. Yes, we need to, especially our white students. Like, the power and the advantage, privilege isn't necessarily my word. I like advantage because I feel like that's exactly what it is. Like, you've got the power, you got to use it. And so that's led to us starting to create some curriculum for our students to understand. Because when they get out in the world, if they don't have that tool and that understanding, in whatever field and career that they're in, that white supremacy has roots in every aspect of this country and what we do, that change that they're wanting to create, because these kids are very passionate, but they only have very limited life experience. And so, okay, we got 5 minutes. But to give just an example of how groups, when white people come together and they're actually modeling and talking it, and how the results of what that can look like, which turns into more learning and more curriculum for the greater community. So there's lots of power in that. Yeah. Right here? Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much, because I think stories are so powerful, and sometimes, we look to data, surveys, but stories are evidence too. So thank you so much for producing, this beautiful film and having this, wonderful conversation today. I just wanted to also add on to, I think you can talk to kids at a very young age in age-appropriate ways. I still remember when my daughter came home from preschool telling me about MLK, and I asked her, what did you learn? She told me,
he helped change bad rules. And that, that was the way she could understand it, and it was perfect. And I think we can't be afraid to have those conversations, especially with young kids. I remember when I was in college and I was babysitting kids who are white. And, we're kind of playing around, and one of them asked me, "Oh, why is your skin that color?" And I said, "Why is your skin that color?" We had a conversation, and that's what it's about, just having age-appropriate conversations. And I've learned, actually, when I experience discomfort, to lean in, because that's the beginning of change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, we have a couple minutes left. Okay, yeah, go for it.
So I go to Rosemont Ridge Middle School in Westland, and there is a lot of talk of like white supremacy and change, but only in certain settings like social studies when we're learning about slavery, or an advisory when we have certain topics about like MLK or like Black History Month, and they aren't really shared much and like outside of those. And like once we get into those like harder conversations, there are like a couple kids who are really passionate about it that are speaking up, but then the rest of them are just silent, and it's like really uncomfortable for a lot of people. But the couple kids that lean into it, you can see people nodding their heads and understanding, but they don't want to say anything because they're scared or they're uncertain of what the right thing to say is. And they actually started a anti-racism club during lunch for the 8th graders. And after a little while, it fizzled out because a lot of kids were getting made fun of for joining those clubs because they were standing out and saying what they believed in. And it was really hard to watch for like those couple of students that were really passionate about what they were like trying to change, and they weren't able to.
Well, one, that is amazing that you all, I mean, that's what we had to do, right? Like somehow if you don't have that, it's like you just have to break the law at school, right? To get away. And then you hope that you get adults to support. But then when the adults, you don't have that, again, if you don't have that top-down like support, then it's so easy for it to just kind of fizzle. And then you're left with young people that are like, I can't use my voice because I try, and then here's what happens. But I encourage you to keep up the good fight. Like keep going. Again, find your people. Find that 1 or 2 teachers that's like got your back, and y'all organize and you strategize. And do it again. Just keep do it again.
All right. Okay. Hi. Okay. Westland, like I just want to reach out to our Westland folks, and we have a group that my husband runs that might be really helpful. We're from. Cool. Right on. Okay. Great. And to the superintendent that's here.
Wait, what's the group? It's
Are
like
you
popcorn.
superintendent of Lake Oswego?
Butter. What's the group called?
I'm sorry, Building Bridges. Building
Thank you.
Bridges.
Building Bridges.
Yeah, right on. Thank you for being here, because that's huge, especially for your district and our district in Westland. We need you. We need you guys here. We need you guys here. You need to know, kind of step out of the ivory towers and get the real deal. It's essential. And I know I was just moving along in my white blitz for a long time. I've done, a lot of work when I was younger, but I kind of got comfortable in a bubble. And that bubble broke from educators and people. I just got fortunate with a couple good professors that really straightened me out. And I remember recently writing an essay and saying, now that I know this about the field of work I'm in, that it was fundamentally started by eugenicists and white supremacists, and that it's spread like a virus globally. Now that I know that as a white woman, because you need to do that positionality, right? I have to be part of the change. I just wanted to leave the field, just like I want to leave Westland. I'm like, I'm out, man. I'm from LA. This is ridiculous, you know. I mean, this is like living in the dark ages, but yet I can't. I have to stay. I'm not leaving that profession as a white woman. And what I said is that I need to be part of that change. But what I also said is I know if I don't want to, I don't have to. And every white person in America needs to really get into that level of discomfort with themselves. All of us sitting here tonight need to recognize that we got that little comfort where we could say, well, you know, I just want to go have a good weekend. I want to go to Sun River. I just want to blitz out at the resort. You know, BS. I will never blitz out again knowing what I know until things are right. And the superintendent, this beautiful white woman sitting in front of me who had the courage to come here tonight as the superintendent of, sorry, I don't mean to put you down, but one of the most racist districts in the state, if not the most racist. She's here. That's huge. I wish ours was here too. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're here. Are you Lake Oswego? Lake Oswego superintendent? No, seriously. I mean, the fact that you are here is it is a big deal. I mean, you know, I'm sure you had no idea what to expect when you showed up tonight. But that is part of what I'm talking about from the top down. Like, absolutely, we can't create the change that we want if you are not here, if other folks are not here, and having all of us at the table and providing those perspectives. I appreciate that. Okay, we have one more. You want to say something?
No, I just wanted to, figure since I kind of make the rules, so I'm just gonna say a quick few words, and we're gonna have to wrap up in a little bit, but one, it's good to actually see another former student of color who came through LO schools here tonight. Honestly, I have to like personally invite other people. That's kind of why Amber plugged Life After the Bubble earlier, and I just want to, you know, when we talk about, I'm going to weave a lot of things together here, so just try and follow me or watch the video later and then catch it in that time. But when we talk about the importance of stories, the reason why those interviews with former students were so important is because, like you said, like most people do not come back here. Once they have the chance to get away, they leave, they never come back, and frankly, I don't blame any of them. But the last one we published with Cameron Leland, who was one of the founding members of the BSU at Lake Oswego High School, in part because of what she feared for her sister who went to Lake Ridge and wouldn't have. So I encourage people to watch those, not just for the sake of watching the stories and boosting numbers up. That's great too, please do. But also because when we leave, when we don't talk about these things, these stories get lost. The things that people built get lost. Like Melissa, we actually met through the BSU at Lake Ridge, however many years ago that was. At the time that group was meeting, they couldn't meet in the school because the students were getting picked on for existing. You know, this isn't ancient history. This is very recent. And so I encourage people, I'll just plug again, youtube.com/@respondtoracismlo. You can go watch all the interviews there. And just a quick note on the age. I appreciate people talking about that we should have these conversations like in kindergarten. I can say coming up here in LO, I have multiple incidents, memories, horror stories that start back to preschool. Racial slurs, being physically attacked by my white peers. So I don't really care how uncomfortable it makes white people. Like, if all these, because we all have these stories. Well, you probably have some from before third grade. We all have these stories of when it happens. And it's not acceptable, and that's why we do this. And yeah, we don't have to capitulate, make people feel comfortable at the expense of our well-being. This stuff stays with you. I'm 35. Like, you know, I'm lucky I have a therapist, but I'm not gonna ever get over everything I went through in LO. I'm not gonna get over what my peers went through. With those of us who everyone just looks on the outside and says, oh, you must be fine, it must be great. It's not. It's not. So investing in this work, like whatever level of discomfort you have to push yourself to, whatever financial investment you have to put in that feels uncomfortable, do it. And I'll stop ranting there, but again, youtube.com/@RespondToRacismLO. Watch these Life After the Bubble interviews, learn these stories. If you're a student here, build on them. Yeah, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Andy.
One more comment, and then I'm gonna let you guys go.
I just want to say, encourage all the parents in this room I think it's important to have those conversations with your kids, because that's where it really starts. And a lot of times, for me, growing up, my parents didn't know how to have that conversation with me. And so I think it's really important for me to make sure that I'm having those conversations with my kids. What are they going through? Talking to them at a very young age. And I think it's also important for us as parents to demand some of the things that we need for our kids in our school systems. Because if all the white children are getting it, then why do our kids not deserve it? And I think that's an important part that, we have children at the same school, and I think it's something that we always have to keep pushing. It doesn't just happen. Parents have to get involved, and it's not just the black parents and the brown parents. It's the white parents that need to get involved too to make it happen. And a lot of times it's the white parents that don't want those conversations. They don't want their kids to hear some of the things that they really should be listening to, right? So I encourage you as, parents in Lake Oswego and Lake Ridge, wherever your kids are going, is to get involved and really start pushing your school districts to make the change.
Thank you all so much. All right, you have time to go home and go to bed.
Wait, they can't.
Oh, wait,
they can't.
there's more?
No, we have to clap for you. Please clap for Melissa.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. And then you can go to blackgirlinsuburbia.com to keep up to date. I'm not great at keeping up to date on that website, but I will have our celebratory anniversary event up there once we have the date. Also Facebook as well, Black Girl in Suburbia. And then, contact me. Let me know if you feel like your community needs to see Black Girl in Suburbia, and we can do another run. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
All right, as you all are leaving, I want to remind you all that there are a handful of events that you can show up to for Respond to Racism. You don't have to sit down. I know you all are in motion. And to support the Poinsett family, there will be more information on Respond to Racism's website. I thank you all for being here and taking time. Please make sure to check out all of Melissa's socials, and make sure that you get that work into your schools, into your communities. And somebody said it so well that we aren't responsible for our history, but we are responsible for what we do with it today. So please carry that with you as well. Take care, everyone.